Stepmom treated my daughter like a doll at Disney World, ignored my son, and ruined our trip. Now she's upset about my new pregnancy. Stepmom treated my daughter like a princess at Disney World, but totally ignored my son, which messed up our whole trip. So, I decided to cut ties, and now she's upset because I'm pregnant with another girl. Here's the scoop. I'm 32, and my dad, who's in his 60s, has been married to Sasha, not her real name, for almost 10 years now. I was already grown by the time they got together, so I never really bonded with her. Sasha was always nice, if a bit annoying at times, but we never had any issues. Fast forward to now, I'm married to my hubby, he's 34, and we have 2 kiddos, a 9-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. Sasha really dotes on my daughter, which got overwhelming pretty fast, so we had to put up some boundaries. She respected them until our Disney World trip in January, which we went on to celebrate my son's birthday. That's when things went south. Sasha focused all her attention on my daughter, breaking almost all of the boundaries we'd set. For example, Sasha bought my daughter a mini ear tiara and expected me to match it for my daughter, who didn't even like it. So I got her a Donald Duck hat instead, but Sasha went ahead and got her the tiara anyway, and then got upset when she wouldn't wear it. While shopping between parks, despite us asking them not to buy stuff for the kids, Sasha came back with piles of clothes for my daughter and a couple things for my son, claiming she just couldn't help herself. She also tried to persuade us to get an Ariel costume instead of the Belle costume my daughter wanted. And even after we explained my daughter's Ursula phobia, Sasha still took them on the Little Mermaid ride, which freaked my daughter out. There were more incidents, with Sasha trying to be overly involved and ignoring my son, like when she suggested taking the kids on rides while I tended to my injured husband at first aid. Her decisions made my daughter upset, and by the end of the trip, I told my dad we wouldn't travel with Sasha anymore due to her behavior. This resulted in a huge blowout fight. Sasha texted me a couple of times, apologizing if she made things awkward and saying she just wanted to spend time with the kids. Honestly, I still don't feel like I was overreacting, but I do think Sasha's behavior might have been motivated by her affection for the kids, even if it was misguided. I told my dad he needs to understand that Sasha crossed our boundaries, whether she meant well or not. Sasha doesn't have kids of her own, and my dad has always been clear about not wanting more, so maybe that's part of the issue. Also, it's worth mentioning my son seems to pick up on the favoritism and isn't a fan of Sasha, likely because she clearly favors my daughter, and he's super protective of his sister. After reading everyone's comments and thinking it over, I've realized calling Sasha a creep wasn't the best way to handle things, but I'm standing by the decision to protect my kids and their comfort. So, here's the scoop. My family's been keeping some distance from Sasha recently. Not gonna lie, it's been a bit messy. Remember that Disney trip? Yeah, it really made me stick to my earlier decision of not planning any more vacations with her anytime soon. Sasha tends to be a bit pushy and has this habit of stepping over the line with our parenting choices. Plus, she's always shown some clear favoritism towards my daughter, which was way more intense when the kids were little. After my daughter was born, Sasha started showering her with a ton of attention, almost ignoring my son completely. I've shared more examples of this elsewhere, but honestly, that's why we had to set some boundaries in the first place. It's always bugged me how she fawns over my daughter. During our little chat with my dad and Sasha, she mentioned that she was curious about what having a daughter would be like. This was odd because she always claimed to be all about the child-free life. Anyway, her saying that made me and my husband feel we were doing the right thing for our kids. Before the Disney fiasco, those boundaries were pretty solid, but on that trip, she basically pretended they didn't exist. I know some folks pointed out that maybe she just got caught up in the Disneyland magic, wanting the kids to have a blast and all. But here's the thing. Regardless of her reasons, she crossed lines we clearly set beforehand. Disney or not, there are no freebies on respecting our rules. Also, it felt less about the kids' fun and more about her ticking off her Disney dream list, completely ignoring what the kids actually wanted. It was like my kids were just actors in her little fairy tale. She kept showering my daughter with attention, even during my son's birthday, in ways that made my daughter squirm. And let's not even start on the whole Little Mermaid incident. My daughter's quite shy, so breaking her trust like that really hit a nerve for me. Bottom line, my kids are not props.
and treating them as such at the very least earns you a timeout. I called up my dad and Sasha to apologize for calling her a creep, but explained we needed a break. They won't be seeing us until my sister's birthday in April. If all goes well, they'll get an invite to my daughter's 5th birthday in May, and we'll slowly try to mend things. I made it clear that if they cross any lines again, the fallout will be much more serious. Dad didn't take it well, but honestly, not my problem. Sasha texted me with more apologies and asked if she could at least FaceTime the kids sometimes. I told her no. For those thinking my controlling vibe ruined the trip, let me tell you, the kids had a blast at Disney World. They're still talking about it. My daughter keeps asking us to put her pics with the characters on display, and my son claims it was the best birthday ever. So, yeah, mission accomplished. Thanks a bunch for all your advice and support from my first post. We've decided that if boundaries are disrespected going forward, we'll have to rethink things. Anyway, fast forward to May, and yeah, the no-contact period mostly worked. Sasha kept trying to sneak in chats with the kids, but we skipped out on my sister's birthday party because we didn't want to make the kids uncomfortable. Instead, we caught up with my sister separately. Dad wasn't thrilled about us not attending the party, claiming I promised Sasha could see the kids, but I stood my ground. The kids didn't want to see her, and their comfort comes first. So, here's the situation. My husband and I had a chat, and I confessed that I just can't bring myself to trust his wife, Sasha. He thinks I'm blowing things out of proportion, but he gets that I want to keep our kids safe. My dad told me about how those 2 months of not talking to Sasha were for them. Apparently, she kept bringing up my kids, especially my daughter, way more than usual. She even wanted to give my daughter a gift at my sister's birthday party, which was kind of out of the blue. Dad knew about one time she called, but he just assumed it was a one-off thing. At some point, Sasha told Dad she was thinking about planning another family vacation with the kids, even though I've made it clear they're not going anywhere with her anymore. Knowing all this just confirmed my gut feeling. I can't trust Sasha around my kids right now. So, I'm sticking to low contact with Dad and no contact with Sasha. My daughter wants Grandpa at her birthday party coming up, so I told Dad he could come, but Sasha's not invited. He agreed. Honestly, my trust in Dad is shaky after all this, but I'm letting him come because it's at my house, and I can control the scene. If he tries to bring Sasha, they'll both be shown the door, and it'll be a long time before I consider letting him near the kids again. Dad hasn't updated me on how Sasha's taking all this. My sister mentioned that Sasha asked her to tell me she wanted to talk during her party, but I'm not reaching out to her. We've blocked her, and that's how it's going to stay. The kids are doing awesome. They're still talking about the fun they had at Disney, and my daughter is saving all her coins in her piggy bank so we can go back. On a different note, surprise! I'm pregnant again. It was totally unexpected. I always said 2 kids max, and the third would be a big surprise, but my husband and I are thrilled. I'm still early along, so not many people know, and we're figuring out how to tell the kids. Life's pretty good overall, despite the Sasha drama. It's made me feel like a more confident parent. I probably won't be updating for a while, but thanks for all the support. Edit. Just to clarify why I'm sticking to my guns on this. My paternal family is small, so there aren't too many events to dodge. Dad only showed up at my sister's party to meet her boyfriend, so that's not a frequent thing. He's visited the kids without Sasha loads of times before, so that's no issue. I don't have anything against Sasha personally, and I've been careful not to let my opinions color my kids' views since I want them to be polite. But if they don't like someone, they don't have to be around them. Sasha doesn't genuinely care about the kids and hasn't tried to foster a bond with them. She kind of forces my daughter into things she wants rather than what my daughter enjoys, treating her like a doll while my son gets sidelined. Nobody needs to be around my kids if they're not respecting them. I've tried chatting with Sasha about boundaries, but she doesn't listen, which is why the no-contact rule is in place. If the kids weren't bothered, I'd consider other options, but they are bothered, so that's that. Update 3. September 3rd, 2024. Quick update. My dad didn't bring Sasha to my daughter's birthday back in May, thank goodness. I didn't really think he would, but your comments made me a bit paranoid. I'm now in my 3rd trimester, and the baby is due in November. The kids are over the moon excited. We're having another girl, but we're keeping it a surprise until she's born, just like we did with the first 2. Everyone, including Sasha, knows I'm pregnant since we announced it a couple of months ago.
Dad checked with me before telling her, and she's reportedly happy for me. The kids still don't want anything to do with Sasha, and I'm not forcing it. I've unblocked her and put her on mute, but she hasn't tried to reach out. We've been hanging out with Dad without his wife, and it's going pretty well. My relationship with him is much better than earlier this year. Last week, at my cousin's party, I saw Sasha for the first time in months, and it was interesting. So, my husband and I went to this event that my dad and Sasha, my stepmom, also attended. I knew Sasha would be there, but since our kids weren't with us, our son was at a sleepover and our daughter was hanging out with my mom, I didn't think much of it. When they showed up, we chatted with them for a bit, and it wasn't as awkward as I thought it might be. Sasha even asked about the baby's gender, but we kept it under wraps, as we always do. Anyway, my dad and Sasha left surprisingly early. Later, my dad told me that Sasha had a bit of a meltdown after seeing me. Apparently, she really wants kids and had hoped my dad would change his mind about having them. My son being born was a turning point for her, and she tried to drop hints to my dad, but he didn't catch on, so she gave up. Sasha confessed to my dad that she loves both my kids but has a soft spot for my daughter because she always dreamed of being a girl mom. This whole thing explains why she was a bit overbearing when my daughter was little, but once we set some boundaries, Sasha mostly respected them, even if the favoritism was still obvious to my son. The Disney trip was a major moment for Sasha. She had always imagined taking a daughter to Disney, doing all her favorite things, but when she overstepped with my daughter, it cost her access to the kids. Seeing me pregnant at the party was, according to my dad, a bit too much for her to handle. I never saw this coming, even though people had hinted at it. My dad, knowing Sasha isn't doing well, told me all this and said he'd understand if I wanted to keep my kids away from her. I didn't see that coming either. I talked to my husband, and we're leaning towards keeping our new baby away from Sasha for now. She's not a bad person, but she's been super selfish and disrespectful in the past, especially during the Disney trip. I even had a chat with our son, and he shared that he doesn't like Sasha because she favors his sister and doesn't listen to them. That's enough reason for me to keep her at a distance. Growing up, I had no boundaries and was always expected to compromise for others, and I won't let my kids go through that. If they don't want to see Sasha, they don't have to. And that's final. On a brighter note, I'm doing great. Just got fantastic news from work and the kids are thriving. I'm really looking forward to meeting baby number 3. Thanks for sticking with me through this roller coaster. Based on some comments, I know I called Sasha a creep at one point, which maybe wasn't the best choice of words, but at the time, it felt warranted. I mean, she was trying to push my kids to do stuff they clearly didn't want to do. One person suggested we keep my dad in the loop about our baby news before announcing it to everyone, especially since Sasha might react badly. We're still keeping our plans low-key, but my dad plans to visit us in the hospital without Sasha, so we'll give him a heads up there. Someone else suggested fostering might be a good fit for Sasha, but knowing my dad, he's not on board with raising more kids. He's been saying he's done with that since I was a teen. So, yeah, we'll see what happens next. Anyway, thanks for all the kind words and support.